Hey folks, Country Prepper here. So, as you can see, I'm out in the shop and just thought I'd take a little break, shoot a video for you guys. I have a few announcements to make really quick and then we'll get to the topic at hand. First off, my email. I got the software client working and everything's working smoothly. So, if you've been trying to get a hold of me, you can do so now through my email. The link is in the description below. I got a couple sheaths sold on my eBay store, and I'll be getting a couple more put up hopefully by this weekend. So I will be shipping a bunch of stuff out. Michael Mixon, your knife is coming. I threw in a few extras for you since you've been waiting very patiently for way too long. And so I just threw in a little gift for you. Michael Owens, you won the bush lure and the custom sheath in my last raffle. I got your email. It will be shipping out tomorrow as well. Greg Taylor won the Mayflower in that raffle. I did not see an email from Greg. So if you're watching, hopefully send me an email with your address so I can get it shipped out to you. And then Cherokee Cowboy won the giveaway, the big bag full of stuff. I did not see an email from him either. So I'll go back and leave him a reply on the giveaway video, and hopefully he'll respond and send me an email with his address and whatnot. So that's it for the announcements. While I'm out here in the shop by myself, I have a lot of time to think about things. And today I just happen to be thinking about the different priorities that I've set and some of the mistakes that I've made, things I need to work on. And so that's what this video is all about. So in descending order, however, some of these things do kind of go hand in hand. So just keep that in mind as I go through my list, starting with number 5. Number 5 is power and energy and fuel. I do not feel like I have stored anywhere near enough fuel. I usually keep a 5-gallon can of gas on hand, just in case, I run out of gas in the middle of mowing the yard, or for the weed eater or something like that, or if I just need to throw a little bit in the truck, whatever the case may be. But 5 gallons I don't feel like is anywhere close to being enough. I'd like to have at least 20 gallons on hand that is for just keeping on hand, not for any type of use. Put fuel stabilizer in it so it'll last a long time. I'd like to have enough to at least fill my truck up once, and I believe I have an 18-gallon tank in my truck. So 20 gallons would be a good amount to keep on hand. You can always fill up the truck, put the rest of the gas cans in the back of the truck if you had to, bug out in a vehicle, that sort of thing. So just something to keep in mind. Another thing is different energy sources, especially for like cooking. I have the small propane tanks from Coleman. I've got a bunch of those. I have my M71 fuel stoves, the military fuel stoves for cooking, but also I've got a couple of the big propane tanks for like the grill. But I'd like to have 4 or 5 more of those that are just set aside for emergency cases. You can hook it up to, I have one of them Big Buddy heaters, the Mr. Heater, one of those type of things with the adapter kit to go to the bigger tank. So I would like to have several tanks on hand in case like the power were out for several days. We've had some really crazy weather so far this year. It was almost somewhere around 70 degrees and in the 60s, close to 70 for 3 or 4 days, and then all of a sudden we got a snowstorm and a bunch of ice. It's just crazy. So you just never know when something is just right around the corner, about ready to make life miserable for you. So I'd like to have more propane on hand, just for the sake of heat. I know you got to be careful with propane in a closed environment, but a person could always just crack a window or whatever the case may be. I also have the wood stove out here in the garage. I need to have more wood split and ready to go in case we needed to use it. Things along those lines. Also power, and this goes hand in hand with something else I'm going to talk about in a little bit. We're going to get our roof redone here pretty soon, and so after that I would like to start getting some solar panels to put on the roof as well. You never know what could happen. There's a lot of bad things looming over our heads nowadays, and so I'd like to have some solar panels even just so we have electricity, even if it's only for, a few hours a day. So things like that, a lot of those are things that I really need to prioritize, things I need to work on. Number 4 is rotating my supplies. Last year, when I went down sick, I did not keep up on all the things that I used to do. I used to keep spreadsheets with all of my supplies, with expiration dates, quantities, all of those sort of things. And so I did not keep up on that, and a lot of my food is past the best by date. It's stuff because of my health that I cannot eat anymore, especially like the chunky soup. I had a lot of that, and so my wife won't eat it. She doesn't like it, and because it's past the best by date, I don't really want to feed it to the kids just in case. I don't want to get one of them sick. I don't want to take any chances if I don't have to. So because of that situation, I have changed the way that I store food. I've gone for a lot longer term stuff. Number 10 cans of Mountain House and Augustin Farms, and stuff like that, freeze dried food that'll last a lot longer. I know it costs more, and but that's just something that I think, buy it and forget it, and it'll be there when you need it, and it'll still be good, because most of that stuff is 25 to 30 years, and I'll be lucky to live that long the way I'm going. So that's just one of the things that I'm working on. I need to put that as a priority of buying, at least like one number 10 can a week or something like that, until I have, somewhere like a year's worth of food. So and that goes hand in hand with the next thing. Since I'm wanting to store more freeze-dried food, I need to store a lot more water. I have kept up on, filling up the juice jugs like I had with water. And all I do with those, if you did not see my video about it, I clean them out with bleach, sterilize them with bleach, and then I just fill them up with filtered municipal water. Filter it through my Aqua Rain filter, kind of like a Berkey, and then fill up the jug and put it away. It already has chlorine in it, so there's no reason to add any bleach or anything like that, but you definitely want to sanitize the jugs really well before you store any water for any length of time in something like that. I have not made water a top priority. Not as much as I should have. I got caught up in, the gear, the fun stuff, the knives and the backpacks and the axes and saws and, all the fun stuff that I like to do when I go out to the woods, all those toys that a guy loves to have. But for the price of the last knife I bought, I got an LT Wright, something I wanted for years, but I didn't need it. And I could have bought anywhere between 10 to 15 55-gallon barrels. Let's say I could have only gotten 10 for the price of that knife. That's 550 gallons, guys. So, that should have been a priority, and I made a mistake. I should have spent the money on something like that. Another thing going down the line, once the roof is done, get new gutters put on, I want to start building a rain catchment system and have some 55-gallon barrels in the basement. And I'd also like to have some out here in the garage. I need to redo my whole garage. The siding is completely fallen off. It looks horrible. It also needs, soffit fascia, all the trim boards, and new gutters put up, and then I can run a water catchment system right here in the garage as well. So that way I can get all the natural water that I possibly can, and it takes very little effort once it's set up. So then you have a renewable source of water every time it rains, if things went all to hell. And so that goes hand in hand with the next thing, is self-sufficiency. We already talked about the solar panels. Thinking about looking into wind generators, something small. I live in town, but it's a very, very small town. When I had researched it before, they say not to, it's not worth doing in town because of dirty wind, they call it, because wind's bouncing off of buildings and trees and stuff. So I don't know if it would work out, even though I'm in a very small town. We have huge yards, nothing like in the cities. And so I don't know if it would work or not, but I want to look into that to go along with the solar, just in case, it was cloudy or, whatever, for a really extended length of time, and the solar panels just couldn't keep up. So, you know, if the weather's nasty for that long, the wind's going to be blowing more often. So the wind generator, you know, kind of working together. So when the weather's nice, the solar panels work. When the weather's not, then the wind generator would pick up the slack. Another thing that we're working on is a couple of years ago, we planted 4 fruit trees, 2 apple trees, and a peach and a pear. They're all self-pollinating dwarf trees. So that's a renewable food supply, and I want to work towards more renewable food supplies, things that grow that produce food on their own without having to replant seeds every year. Things like we're planning on planting some grapevines and maybe some raspberry bushes, things like that. We could also do, I looked into, I think they're called Jerusalem artichokes, sunchokes. Those will regrow themselves. They're kind of a starch, kind of like a potato, and have basically the same consistency. I don't know how they taste. I haven't tried them yet, but it's something I've been looking into. But more things along those lines, things that will regrow themselves every year and produce on their own without having to put a bunch of work into, you know, tilling and planting seeds and all that kind of stuff. So we also have a strawberry bed, and, you know, some other things. Been thinking about doing some experimenting with just using grow lights in the basement and see if a person could, if you were trapped inside your house for an extended period of time, if, you know, going outside was just way too dangerous, if a person could actually produce at least some food indoors. So it's just kind of a thought that I had, an experiment that I would like to do, but just, you know, like an idea. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you guys ever produce, you know, have food bearing plants indoors. In other words, self-sufficiency is a very high priority for me. The only thing that trumps that priority is, number 1, health and fitness. Right now, I'm doing much better. I got onto a basically very little solid food type of diet. I have a, you know, like a smoothie, a protein smoothie first thing in the morning. The only solid food I really eat is I'll have like a hard-boiled egg or, you know, a protein bar. I made some really good homemade protein bars that have multigrain Cheerios, which are gluten-free, some natural peanut butter, coconut oil, oats, and let's see, I put some dark chocolate chips in there. So those were really good. You know, I felt great. I had a lot of energy, a lot more energy, I should say, than I did last few months. But, you know, I'm feeling a lot better because of it. Last weekend, I went out and hung out with some friends out in the woods, and you guys, most of you probably saw that on AOK Foraging and Adventures. By the way, she's having a giveaway, so go check out her channel. I'll leave a link to her channel in the description. She hit 500 subscribers. Congratulations, Tack. Anyway, while I was out there, I thought I'd spoil myself and have some of my wife's leftover biscuits and gravy from the night before that I didn't get to eat. And I figured, you know, what the hell, I'm going out with the friends out in the woods, and what's better than biscuits and gravy, right? Well, I paid for it. I paid dearly for it. I was all, you know, bloated out, and liver was swelled back up, and things were just not, my body was not happy. And so I felt miserable. As you can see, I kind of got I broke out a bunch because, you know, there's homemade gravy has a lot of grease in it. And if you know anybody that's had any liver issues, grease is very bad. And so I was hurting from it. I learned my lesson. I'm not going to deviate from my diet again until I am in much, much better shape. Another thing is every day that it's been nice out, we had some days, I said, that were 60, 70 degrees. And so I was out walking. We have a lake near where we live, 3.5 miles, something like that, that has a 2-mile path around it. And so every day it's nice out, I go for a walk around the lake, 2 miles, and I'd really like to increase that. I want to drop a bunch of weight, which I have lost some, but I'm still working on it. You know, I need to lose a lot more so that my shins and my feet don't hurt near as bad when I'm done. And so I'd like to increase that to 4 and eventually to 6, 8, 10 miles. And so got something that I'm working on. It's going to take a long time, I know that, but it is absolutely my top priority, because if I had to bug out right now, I'd be screwed. I cannot carry a pack for very long. I can't even just walk just myself for that long. So, you know, health-wise, physically, I am just not in good enough condition that if something happened, I just would not be able to carry my bug out bag, not for very long. Last fall, went camping with a bunch of friends and did some videos on that. And my pack weighed somewhere around like 65 pounds, and that was not including any water. It was all gear for, almost all gear just to stay warm because it got down into the 20s at night. And so it was pretty heavy pack, but not terribly heavy. I should have been able to carry it a mile, but I had to stop and take a break. And that's awful. Now, I was in a lot worse shape than I am now, back last fall. But, you know, still need to work on it, still need to make it my absolute top priority. The reason I did this video is because I still get messages here and there on Facebook and in the comments and those sort of things where people are asking, you know, what should I do in this situation or that situation? And so I thought the best way to figure out where your priorities should be is looking at your mistakes and things you need to work on and go from there. So until you recognize where you're falling short, you can't really proceed with, you know, any goals or anything like that. And so those are my top 5 priorities. Let me know down in the comment section what your top 5 priorities are. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm always here to help. Like I said in the last video, I didn't get a whole lot of suggestions for things to cover in my videos. So, you know, I got a few, and they were really good suggestions. So I appreciate that. If you have any more suggestions or things you need help with, go back to my last video and leave me a comment there. I am keeping up on those and writing them down so I can address, you know, the different things that people have asked me about. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.